years now, I have noticed that a number of people are grappling with a concept which we want to break down today. That is the concept of a company or companies. A company seems to be an abstract, but yet something that is common and with us on a daily basis. On the Law Podcast Uganda, where we make sense of the law, we are going to make sense of a company and companies generally. What is a company? How is a company brought into existence? What is the management, or how is a company run? And at the end of it all, how do you close, or how do you end the existence of a company? My name, as usual, I am Alex Kafero. I am an advocate of the High Court of Uganda. I practice law with the law firm of Okecha, Baranyang and Company Advocates. And I thank the law firm for hosting us every single day. Ladies and gentlemen, a company is a legal entity which is an association of people with a common objective. For example, you, together with a friend, allow yourselves to work together in a company for a common objective. For instance, you're going to make or you're going to sell a given product. A company in law is separate from the owners of the company, and this is where the confusion is for majority of the members of the public. Now, a company cannot be touched, but it has an existence, it has capacity, it is a recognized legal entity in law which is separate from the owners. I can be a director and a member of a company, and I am Alex and separate from my company, which is Alex Company Limited. What that helps now, what that does are the advantages of running a company. So, before you get a company, or before something called a company comes into existence, that company is registered. And that is what we call registration of a company. In Uganda, registration of a company is done at the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. It can be done by lawyers, and it can be done by you without hiring a lawyer. But like I always tell you, the best option that you have is to hire a lawyer to do the registration for you. Why? Because you realize that, like we have said, an association of people for a common purpose, you need to stipulate what you're going to do. The lawyer will help you to stipulate in your documents what exactly you're going to do. Because as you realize that if you are formed for a particular, if you form a company for a particular purpose and you divert from that purpose, the actions of that company will be illegal. The actions of that company will be illegal. And therefore, it is important from the inception to know why you're forming the company, what you're forming the company for, and that is how a lawyer becomes very, very important. Now, that leads me to what documentation do I need to form a company? Now, registration of a company requires the basic documents. The most important ones are the memorandum of association and the articles of association. Now, those documents stipulate who the directors will be in the company and what shares they will have and what shareholding or share capital the company is having, is starting with, which is technically called the nominal share capital. And also, those documents have or contain the laws that are going to be regulating the conduct of the of the company, regulation of the company. How is a director removed? How is a director installed? And that kind of thing. And because of that, therefore, those documents also provide for the management of the company. Together with the laws, the company laws and the others, the documents provide the management, the regulation and the stipulation of the management of the company. Now, the advantages of a company are so many, but because we don't have time, I'll tell you a number of them, a few of them. One is that when you incorporate a company, and like we have said, the company becomes a different person from the human being who is now Kafeero Alex, the director. The company becomes Alex Company Limited. Alex Company Limited can buy its own vehicle, can take its own debts, can do everything, can hire employees. And now that means that Alex Kafeero as a human being is not responsible for the actions of the company. Even when you're filing tax returns, a company files its own tax returns, and I also file my tax returns as an individual. Then also, when it comes to debt, when a company is taking out debt, it can take out debt in its own capacity, which is separate from you as a human being. The advantage in that is that when you fail to pay the debt, that is now if the company fails to pay the debts, it is only the properties of the company that will be attached and sold, not the properties of Alex Kafeero. I understand people will be under, but the money is yours. If the money is for Alex Kafeero, yes, the money is for Alex Kafeero, but the law looks at both as separate individuals, separate persons. And because they're separate persons, everyone has their responsibilities and obligations. It helps you now to sort of put yourself in a safe place. And that is why you've seen companies or people like Elon Musk will have so many companies for different objectives. They'll have SpaceX for the spaceships, they'll have Tesla, they'll have Solar City. They would have decided to it's Elon Musk. But that is the idea, that is the point. Then the other one is that the company helps you to run so many things without affecting your resources. Your resources, your properties are separate from those. Like we have said, your resources are separate. Even when you borrow money, you can lend your money to the company. Yet the company is yours. But you can lend your money to the company. And the law will look at that differently. So those are the advantages of having a company. And then, when a company is being run, like we have said, a company is not a human being, but it's a person at law. The law looks at it as a separate person. Now, the management of the company is in two things, or is done by two things. We have the board of directors and also the members meeting, or the members annual general meeting. Why? Because these are the human beings who possess the human mind, the minds, and it is that mind that can effectualize the intentions of the company. People have always been disturbed by, should I register a company or should I register a business name? And I've always told them, like I'm telling you now, that a business name does not create separate capacity. You realize that the capacity, the ability to exist on its own, or the ability for a company to exist on its own, is what we call separate capacity, or is what we call legal capacity. So registering a business name does not create a separate capacity. No, no. You remain the same. The dates and everything of that business is you. But registration of a company, like we have said, which is done at URSB, filing the documents I've told you about, the memorandum, articles of association, the details, the particulars of the shareholders, the directors, and the secretary. Those ones are filed. Those ones are submitted at the Registration Services, Uganda Registration Services Bureau. And now, when you submit those documents, upon the registrar of companies satisfying him or herself that all those documents have been properly submitted, you are given a certificate of incorporation. A certificate of incorporation is the document that signifies that your company, Alex Company Limited, has come into existence. And it is from that day that you can start doing what you intended to do, and which is also reflected in the other documents that we have talked about. So the company will give you peace of mind. It will give you peace of mind. And when you are carrying on, you do not have to represent yourself as the owner of the company. You don't have to. So the company is registered. We have understood, we have heard what a company means, how a company comes into existence, how a company is managed. Now, when you've done all that you wanted to do, it is your choice to close the company. There's another process which is now called dissolution of the company. You agree between yourselves that now we have exhausted our purpose for which this company was formed, or we are tired, we want to close. And now when you close, you submit your documents. You submit a document, which we call a resolution, informing the registrar of companies that we intend to close. That is when you are not indebted, for good reason. Of course, when you're indebted, you need to inform your creditors also that I'm closing, so come we balance the books, I pay you off, and I close. So what we should take home today is that a company is a legal entity which is formed. We can have a single member company. We can also have a single member company means one person. One person. And that one has a specific procedure in law for its registration. And then we can have a company which has one director, secretary, two directors, and above. So a company is a legal entity which is formed for a particular purpose, and it's an association of people, or it can be by one person. And that is what we call a single member company. A company is brought into existence through a registration process. That registration process, we have said that here in Uganda it is done by the Uganda Registration Services Bureau, and you submit documents. We have said the documents include the memorandum of association, articles of association, particulars of directors, and those documents include or stipulate how the company shall be managed, what the company shall do, the nominal share capital of the company, and the shareholding in that company. Now, there's something very important that I need to say before I leave, which is shares. Now, in companies, we own shares. Shareholders, like you hear the word shareholders, they own and hold shares. Now, the properties belong to the company. I have had that confusion so many times, especially when directors of companies die. Their families will always jump up to say that these cars, these buildings were owned by the company of my dad, and so they are mine. No, that is wrong. Very, very wrong. In law, a company owns its properties, and the shareholders or the directors hold shares. You're only entitled to shares. The properties, the cars, the buildings belong to the company. So our documents have the shareholding, and after that shareholding, we have said that the company is run by two organs, that is the board of directors and the members meeting or members general meeting. And also, we have also said that the company can close voluntarily, which we call voluntary winding up, or in other words, we can say dissolution of a company. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, subscribe, and thank you for being with us.